So I have Loren Komperdo, President and CEO of Zephyr Minerals with me this morning. Loren, thank you for taking the time to chat.
Thank you for having me on.
So Zephyr is preparing to drill the El Plomo section of its Dawson-Green Mountain Property in Colorado. What type of deposit does the company hope to discover?
We think this is a Broken Hill type drill target, and Broken Hills are large, high grade, generally lead, zinc, silver projects, mostly silver. I guess the best example is the Broken Hill deposit in Australia, which is arguably the largest base metal mine in the world, and that is where BHP Minerals got their start. They mined that deposit for over 100 years, and that's where they got their name. BHP Minerals stands for Broken Hill Propriety.
It's very interesting. So what are some of the key characteristics of the El Plomo section that make it similar to a Broken Hill type deposit?
Well, these Broken Hill type deposits are interesting in that they always occur in a very narrow age range. So approximately 1.7 billion years old, which is our rocks, and the same as Broken Hill. Rock types are very similar. There's a very specific type of metamorphic rock called a Potosi gneiss, which we have at ours. Broken Hill has it theirs. Another type of rock that suggests you're near a deposit is granite with a high zinc content. And it was BHP Minerals that did a large geochemical study and found that that if your this granite mineral is high in zinc, that generally only occurs when you're very near a deposit, and we have that signature on our deposit. So those are all really important things that suggest that this is a Broken Hill deposit. I guess one of the most striking ones is Broken Hill deposits are generally have a silver contained in a mineral called fribergite, and it's a rare silver mineral. And when we did our work on a couple of drill holes that are historic, when drilled in 1981, we found that the silver content in those holes are in an offshoot of fribergite called argento tetrahedrite, but it's basically a subgroup of fribergite. So we were very happy to see that. It really bodes well, suggesting that we have a Broken Hill deposit here.
Okay. The company will drill its first holes near historically drilled GC8 and GC9. What evidence is there that the mineralized deposit may sit just underneath those holes?
So both of those holes got what we would call ore grade mineralization up to 10% zinc in GC9, for example, and up to 87 grams silver and a gram gold in GC8. Both of those holes were drilled by Rio Tinto, a sub-company of theirs called US Borax in 1981. And they were shallow holes to drill underneath a gossinous outcrop or a showing, which was all oxidized, and they wanted to get into fresh rock. So they drilled right below that and got these good numbers. Now we know from the core that both of these holes, wherever we've got the mineralization, there's magnetic minerals that are associated with that, magnetite and pyrrhotite. So we came in here and we thought, well, let's see if there's something deeper by shooting an airborne geophysical survey. And when we did that, we had a magnetometer attached that looked for magnetics in the rocks, and we found a large, basically it's about a 400 meter by 400 meter by 250 meter magnetic anomaly right below GC8 and 9. And if you look at GC8 and 9, they're actually not in the anomaly. The strongest part is right below that, which suggests that GC8 and 9 are only touching the very top of this thing, and the real best part of the anomaly, or the best part of the deposit, is where you've got the higher magnetics right below GC8 and 9.
So the company also shows an interpreted fold and is planning to drill into that fold. Could you explain why this is important?
Sure. So virtually all Broken Hill deposits, you find that that the mineralization is strongest and thickest in fold hinges, and that's because these rocks are metamorphic rocks, and they're heated up to several hundred degrees centigrade and at depths of 7 to 8 kilometers. So the rocks almost turn into a plastic, and whenever you bend them, what you end up getting is all of the softest and easily movable materials such as sulfides will flow up into the hinge line where there's less pressure. So these then form the basis of where the deposits are richest and thickest. And so by having a hinge line here and having the anomaly, the geophysical anomaly in the shape of a hinge line, it suggests that the reason that this is strong and large there is because of this hinge line, which is of course our main target, because what we want to do is find the thickest and richest part of this deposit right away.
GC8 and 9 are shown to have mineralized intercepts that either had zinc or lead and silver, but not zinc, lead, and silver together. Would this be expected in a Broken Hill type deposit?
Yeah, that's unusual in these deposits in that they're stratified by mineralization. And for example, at Broken Hill, you've either got lead silver lodes or you've got zinc lodes, and there is some mixing between them, but generally speaking you'll get one or the other. And this is just another indication that this is a Broken Hill style mineralization as opposed to something else.
Excellent. Mapping was done in 1988 on the El Plomo section, which identified 35 prospects along the entire trend. What was found in these prospects, and do you believe that they could be related to the Broken Hill type target that's underneath?
Yeah, so along this trend, they found lead, zinc, silver, gold, and copper. You have to remember that these are all oxidized deposits, and we know from the holes drilled at GC8 and GC9 that the oxidized mineralization near surface is leached. So what happens over tens of thousands of years, or hundreds of thousands of years, even millions of years, the minerals leach out. So what you see at surface is not as strong as what you get at depth. That being said, the entire trend for this El Plomo section of 35 prospects all showed mineralization, even though in some cases they were weaker simply because of the leaching. So what it suggests to us is that this is a very large mineralized system. And what you need to do in these these large systems is find the areas where the mineralization is thickest and richest, which of course are fold hinges. And that's where we go back to the geophysics, which could then, by flying that, show you the areas where the magnetics are strongest, and hence probably fold hinges, and which is our targets.
Furthermore, the company put out a 3D inversion model which shows multiple targets at GC8 and 9, the midsection, and also GC1 and 2. Could a Broken Hill type target form multiple deposits across several kilometers?
Absolutely. So if you look at the main Broken Hill mine in Australia, there's actually 5 lodes or 5 deposits in that mine. And so each one is 40 to 60 million tons, and overall it creates a mine that was well over 200 million tons. So you could easily have, for example, in our long section, the first thing we're going to drill is the El Plomo section, and underneath the GC8-9, that target is 100 million tons of magnetic rock. You move over to the midsection, there's potentially another 100 million ton target there, and then we've got a smaller target under cross sections GC1 and 2. So each one of those are legitimate targets. And of course, we're drilling under GC8 and 9 first because we know we've got mineralization there, and it's probably one of our best targets right now.
It's very exciting. So I'm going to move on to the exploration plan. Could you give us an update on the drilling preparations and when you think the company will start drilling? And furthermore, how long do you think it would take for the company to drill the first couple holes at GC8 and 9?
Sure. So this is a remote and rugged area. So what we have to do is we've got to get a helicopter. We build a wooden drilling pad. Once the wooden drilling pad is done, we'll then fly a drill rig in parts and assemble it on site, and then add a pump, bring some water up to the rig, and then we're ready to drill. So we're right now they're in that part of the operation where they're building the wooden drilling pad as we speak. And we expect to have that done early next week. With the rig moving on, we expect probably 3 days for a rig up before they're ready to drill. So I'd say by the end of next week, we should be starting to drill. And you're probably looking at, I'd say, probably 3 weeks to drill 2 holes in this area. So we should be done drilling the first 2 holes by the end of August or below GC8 and 9.
All right. Would you be able to visually identify if you've hit a broken hill type deposit on the first few holes?
You'll be able to visually see the lead mineralization, which is galena, and the zinc mineralization, which is a mineral called sphalerite. You would not be able to see the gold or silver in that; they'd be too small. But visually, you will have an idea that yes, we're on the right track here. But at the end of the day, the final answer, I guess you'd say, is the assays, and those assays are going to probably take another 2 months after the core has been drilled. So we probably won't have assays till October, but visually we should be able to see if there's lead and zinc in the core for sure.
And upon a discovery, assuming that the company makes one, what would the company's next steps be?
The next steps would be expanding the drilling to basically drill up all of this anomaly we have, make sure that the whole thing is mineralized, and then move over to the mid anomaly and drill that. So we would be drilling probably for the next, I would say, for probably 2 or 3 years. And at that point, once you get enough mineralization, you could put a decline in, which is basically a tunnel to the deposit. And that would start probably somewhere from the east or the north. It wouldn't be going right in where we are. It's too rugged. But there is some very flat areas east of us and north of us where we could put a tunnel in and then start to drill from underground and drill up the deposit from there.
The company also owns the Green Mountain and Dawson sections, which currently hosts a 43101 mineral resource of approximately 120,000 ounces at 10 grams. Does the company plan to do any further exploration work on its gold prospects this season?
Yes, we are actually doing some geological mapping in the east area of the Green Mountain section. And so this is something that's on the back burner right now, just because the Broken Hill target is so large, the El Plomo section with the anomaly we have. But we know at Dawson, for example, where we got the 120,000 ounces, we got a sulfide zone, and stratigraphically below, about 10 meters below that zone, is there a gold zone which has very low sulfides but high grade gold. And so we know that Dawson and Green Mountain are very similar type geology, and they're on the same trend. It's all part of the same system: Dawson, El Plomo, and Green Mountain. So at Green Mountain, we went and prospected that area, and we know we've got the sulfides there, which were mined in the past in the early 1900s. And so we prospected the area just grabbing samples, and we found samples up to 13.6 grams gold with no sulfide. So our philosophy, or our model for Green Mountain, is the same as Dawson. We're going to basically go to Green Mountain, look below the sulfides about 10 meters to see if there's that gold zone, which probably it was not picked up by the old timers because there was no sulfides in it. So there's an opportunity there to look at that. But for this season right now, we're just doing some mapping on the eastern part of Green Mountain, and depending on the results from the drilling we're doing this summer, we may go in with a full-scale program next year at Green Mountain and try and drill up a potential gold zone there. Again, a lot of it's going to depend on our results here and our commitments for cash on the El Plomo section.
Do you have any closing comments for listeners today?
No, it's a very exciting time for Zephyr shareholders. I mean, we're drilling what is probably the holy grail of deposits. What you want in mining is you want not only a large tonnage, but you want that tonnage to be as high as grade as possible, because the higher the grade and the larger the tonnage, the more economic the deposit, hence the more valuable the company becomes. So the El Plomo section that we're drilling right now is really a target that could really have a significant move in our stock if we're successful in getting a Broken Hill deposit. And we should hopefully know that in the next several months. So we're very keen on it, and I think there's a lot of potential upside on this if we're successful on the drilling in this area.
All right. Thank you for your time, Loren, and hope to speak with you again soon for another update.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate the opportunity.